Hello and welcome to another episode of Great God Debates. I am not in the car this time, I'm actually at home. Just to explain why really, sometimes it can get quite loud in the car with the road noise, and also it can be a bit wobbly. It's not particularly great for staying still. And also the sound might not be as good as doing it at home. So doing it at home today, I just thought I'd make a very quick video just to explain a little bit why I've decided to call the channel Great God Debates. Mainly, really, I mean, there are a few reasons, but one, I like the name. I think it's quite catchy. I think sometimes names sometimes can help engage people, which is good. But you'll probably know by now, I would say you definitely know by now that I no longer believe in God. I used to. I no longer have, from my perspective, a good reason to believe in a being which may have created everything. I'm certainly open to the idea, but I have no good reason, as far as I can tell, due to lack of evidence. We can't necessarily define something into existence. Lots of things that people say about God seem to be simply defined. It's like, oh, God by definition is this, God by definition is that. Well, yes, but does that actually tell us whether or not God exists? Because it seems to be simply a definition. And I'm sure we can't define something into existence, and I'm sure many of us watching this video would agree with that. So it needs to have a bit more than, well, what do you think? What do you think is more likely? I don't know how we can assess what's more likely with the universe. We generally, when we compare things, we actually have other things to compare what's maybe likely. If we roll a set of dice, we can sort of generally work out the probability of how many times a 1 will turn up. If we have 2 dice, how many times will 2 ones turn up? We can actually roll the dice and repeat the method. We don't seem to have another way of assessing whether or not a God exists in terms of more likely. Lots of people will try and say, try to work out the likelihood and the probability of some things happening, but actually we don't have another universe to compare our findings with. All we have is what we have. Anyway, that was a little bit of a side rant, but why have I called it? Yes, I don't have any good reason to believe in God anymore, so I could call it something like an atheist debate. Sometimes people might call me an atheist. Some people might call me agnostic. I made a video recently about faith and how I'd sort of separated the differences between reasoned faith and blind faith before, but now I just call all faith blind and what I used to call reasoned faith trust. But actually I don't think it matters as long as we understand what we mean. The terminology is fine, and in the same way, if somebody wants to call me an atheist, that's fine, or agnostic. Excuse me. Essentially, it doesn't really matter what I'm called. I'm just no longer believe. Okay, some people define an atheist as someone that says that God doesn't exist. I don't say that. I just don't know that one does. So lots of people will call that agnostic instead. For me, my understanding is that is also under the atheist umbrella, because it's simply somebody that doesn't believe. You can be a strong atheist and believe that one doesn't exist specifically, or you can be a weak atheist, I guess, if you like, and be agnostic, and I believe most atheists are agnostic. However, the point really is, why don't I call it something like atheist debates? Is it because some part of me believes that God does still exist? Well, no, it isn't. One, to be fair, a guy called Matt Dillahunty, who spends a lot of time doing the atheist experience, or less time than he used to because he's quite busy now, but on his YouTube channel, his title is Atheist Debate. I'm not going to nick his title, but also because the term atheist, I may have said before, I think can sometimes be divisive. I know Brian Cox has said that in an interview with Russell Brand before, and I do agree with that. I don't think it should be like that. I don't think it should at all, because people probably need to have more of an understanding of what atheists are. They're not evil people, they're just simply people that have found that they don't have a good reason to believe. But it can be divisive, and partly because of that I have chosen not to use any sort of title like that, even though I'm quite openly will talk about my position in that regard. So Great God Debates, that's simply because I talk about God a lot. So my second reason for it then is because Again, not because part of me still believes that a God exists. It's because whilst a lot of my debates will be about the Christian God in particular, I do hope to talk about other faiths as well at some point, in varying amounts of detail. But Great God Debates, my experience has been Christianity, so I know more about Christianity. And in fact, I probably know more about it now, since not being a believer, than I knew before in some respects. Not entirely, but because I've spent 20 years being a Christian, being a believer, I'm going to discuss that because that's what I know. And finally, why the word debate? Because all of my videos so far have just been me. So it's not really a debate. I'm not debating with anybody in particular. I mean, you know, at some point in the future, I do hope to be able to have conversations with people of varying different backgrounds and beliefs. It would be nice to be able to do that if people are willing. But essentially, you know, even though it's not a debate as such, it's more of a conversation. Debate sort of, I like the word debate because I think sometimes we can get confused with what we mean by debate. I think as long as we have a healthy debate and we don't necessarily argue with each other unnecessarily, then debate's a good word. But really, it's, for me at least at the moment, it's rather an internal debate. I do lots of research and I can come to my own conclusions. Sometimes I think I still don't know because there's so many conflicting opinions, which strengthens sort of my resolve really in trying to say that actually at the end of the day I'm honest enough to say I don't know, and I don't want to make up an answer as a result. So internal debate is sort of what it is at the moment. Not that I'm sort of struggling, it's like, oh, I just cannot get this sort of out of my head, but I just enjoy talking about it. So in a roundabout way, this video's probably been a bit longer than I intended, but that's okay. There we go. That is why I've called this Great God Debates. It's not because I still believe in God, and it's obviously also not because I'm having debates with people specifically. I do sort of outside of these videos at times, and I have conversations, but hopefully at some point I will be able to bring other people on. But for now, it's an internal debate, and the majority of it is about the Christian God, because that's what I know. There we go. Thank you very much. I will catch you at another point. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.